Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to talk about how you can map out your fretboard when you're playing a lead. And I'm not talking about getting out a piece of paper and doing it that way. I'm talking about visualizing different regions of the fretboard as chords are happening in your jam track, knowing kind of what regions you should go to, and really taking the guesswork out of it. I know that that's a point of frustration for a lot of you. It was for me too, as I was learning how to do this. I would know a scale, but it seemed like a lot of what I was doing was just guesswork. I never knew exactly what was going to come out. In some ways that made it fun, but in a lot of other ways it made it frustrating. So we're going to be looking at all of this over a very slow and easy to play along with jam track. It's got a lot of chords in it. I did that on purpose so that we have all these chords that we can highlight. And I'm going to give you examples of what it sounds like to play in the key of a song versus following the chord changes. So all of that's going to be in this lesson. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to go through the first half of that lead. If you'd like to watch the second half, download the tablature and also download the MP3 jam track. You can get those extras by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP538. Okay, so this song that we're going to be playing over is in the key of G. Now there's lots of different chords in it. There's major chords, there's diminished 7 chords, there's dominant 7 chords, there's minor chords, lots of different chords, but there's really just one key, and that key is G. And so what that means, the only reason I'm mentioning that is I could, if I wanted to, I could just stay in the key of the song. I could ignore everything I'm about to teach you in this and not try and follow the chord changes and just play the key of the song. That's where most of us go when it comes to learning lead. And I'm sure a lot of you are in that boat where you know your pentatonic scales. And by the way, the pentatonic scales are the perfect scale for doing that. Your major pentatonic scale for more of a happy sound, or your minor pentatonic scale for more of a sad or bluesy sound. So I'm going to demonstrate that. I want to play over that jam track, just staying in the key, not following the chord changes. I'm going to start off playing the major pentatonic scale, the G major pentatonic scale, so you can hear that sound. And then I'll dial in the minor pentatonic scale so you can hear that sound, and then we'll get into the lesson. I just wanted to start with this so you can hear the difference. Okay, so I am going to play along with this jam track using only one scale. We're going to use the G major pentatonic scale. I just want to show you that you can do it this way. So check this out. This would be like pattern 5 of your major pentatonic. This is pattern 1. So it can be done. Right? Okay, so now let's play over the same jam track, but use only the G minor pentatonic scale. So check this out. It's going to sound bluesy. It is possible though. Doesn't sound that great though. You can tell I'm wanting to push it into the major. All right, so I wanted to start this video off with that little demonstration of what it sounds like to just stay in the key of the song, to do the minor pentatonic thing by dialing it into more of a bluesy sound, or dialing it into a major pentatonic scale, which is a little more of a happy sound. And for the longest time, that's all I knew how to do when it came to lead playing. I would play the major pentatonic scale, I'd play the minor. I knew how to blend them fairly well. But I didn't really know how to visualize beyond that. And I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this are probably in that same space, because you can do so much with them, and it can sound pretty good, and it can work over a lot of different styles. So what I wanted to do in this was to just kind of give you some different ideas for mapping out your lead, as it's happening in real time. Let's listen to the first part of this jam track and what I played, and then we'll talk about what's going on. All right, so when I played that, I came in right on the 1. And so this song is in 3/4 time. A lot of old, like country waltzes are, have this kind of vibe. That's what I was going for. So if you're counting this out, you'd count it like this. 1, 2, 3, 1. Comes in on the 1. So you'd only count to 3. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you know that. But anyway, 3/4 time. You count it to 3 and then you reset it. So it comes in right on the 1, and I'm up here on the 10th fret, 2nd string, 2 full bends, and then a bend and release, come down to the 8th fret, and then the 10th fret, 2nd string without the bend. So all together. Now, what is this? So we're going to get back to the mapping thing. Like, where is that? Well, it really goes into what I just demonstrated when I was showing you the major pentatonic scale. This is major pentatonic scale. This is the G major pentatonic scale. Now, this would be pattern 4. If you're thinking about which part of the pentatonic scale would be in your section 4, pattern 4. You could also think of it married up with your C shape, your G chord using that C shape. But you've got that full bend you can do on the 10th fret, 2nd string. And then I came down to that 8th fret, 2nd string and went. And that happens right as the song goes to the C chord. So I went like this. That's the 9th fret, 3rd string, and then 8th fret, 2nd string. Now those two notes, or this extra note here, this 9th fret, 3rd string, is in your G major pentatonic scale, but it also is in your C using the E shape. And so that's what lit up to me when I was playing this. I knew the song was about to go to a C, and so I'm always asking myself, where's my nearest C? Oh yeah, there's one right here. So when I see that, I just take the note I was playing, and I try and match it to the chord that's coming. So if the C chord is coming, I could slide into it, right? So that's where you break out of, or for me anyway, I break out of the scale thing and just staying in the key of the song. At this point, I'm thinking about the chords. I can go back and forth all I want. And so just remember that there's no formula that says you always have to be playing chord changes or always have to be staying in the key. You can, if you ever get lost, just go to the key of the song until you can catch yourself up with the chords that you know. I mean, that's one of the things I do a lot too. All right, so in this part of the song, we're staying on the C chord, but then it's about to walk back to our G chord. And so what I did, we just played that out of your C chord using the E shape. I went like this and played this. Now that's my root interval, and then there's my 5th interval of the chord. So it's the same notes out of that C chord, but I'm just playing the root, the 1, and the 5. It doesn't sound that pretty. It's kind of got a weird sound. It's very unresolved because it doesn't have the 3rd in it. So it could go major or minor when you have that sound. But anyway, that's what I did. And then I kept my ring finger there so that can ring out. And then I moved my index finger down 1 fret to the 7th fret, 2nd string. And what I'm doing here, by the way, is I'm creating a little melody line that's just going to walk down like this. Back down to my G. And those notes are out of my G major scale. Now, I wasn't thinking about all of that. It's not like when I was mapping this out, there was some big process going on in my brain. It wasn't like that at all. I knew this, and I knew where I was trying to get, which is back to my G down here. And that's just where I wanted to descend. I heard a little descending melody line in my head. So I wanted to come down to this. Using that same principle, by the way. The root and the 5th, I wanted to do that same thing over the G chord down here. Same shape, so E shape. So to get there, I went. And then I came down to this, which is where I've got my ring finger. I find it easiest to using my ring finger and my pinky for this. Ring finger's on the 5th fret, 4th string, and my pinky's on the 5th fret, 2nd string. Now, what are those two notes? Remember, we were playing over the C chord. It goes C, 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 G. So from the C, 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 we're down here, and look at this. There's my C chord using the A shape. So you can start to see this stuff, like as the veil gets lifted, you realize, oh, those harmonies that sound difficult, or at least they did to me when I would hear that kind of thing. I always thought, man, you got to be like a genius to just improvise it. No, it's not that at all. It's just a C to a C to a G. I just need to know my chord shapes in various different spots. And there's only 5 different positions for your chords. The C, A, G, E, D, the cage system. That's why I always come back to that for everything that I do. It's really the home for me in terms of understanding the fretboard and organizing the fretboard. There's not a better system that I've ever seen or heard of. So, down to here, and then I can keep my ring finger on that 5th fret 4th string, and then my index finger comes down to the 3rd fret 2nd string. And you know why that works now, right? Because it's just the root and the 5th out of my G chord using the E shape. Same thing we did for up here. So, then listen, I added the 3rd. Just that one little idea, one little element really spices things up and makes it sound very intentional by adding the 3rd. And so you can see those notes, just my G chord. And then the song goes to your major 2 chord. So normally your 2 chord would be minor, but in old country, it's just a common theme that happens. You play your 1 chord, you go up to your 2 chord, but make it major. And then you resolve to the 5 chord. You hear that in so much of that style of music. So why not use the same little idea? So I played my G here, and I'm thinking, okay, next chord is an A. I can come down here and play A like this. But why not just use the same fingerings and play it up here? It's my A chord using the E shape. And then I went, it's a little Jerry Garcia style pull off. So it's just kind of a chromatic thing. And we come down to this note, which is my 7th fret 3rd string. And that's where the song goes to the D chord. And so this note makes sense, and actually everything I'm going to do after that note is going to make sense, because now we're in D way of thinking. So back to that mapping of the fretboard, we played the G, we walked it up chromatically to our A, and then we came to this note, which is in our D chord using the A shape right here. And then the next thing I played here goes like this. So let's look at that. It's actually very easy to play, and once I explain this to you, you'll never forget it, and you can use this harmony, this little harmonized 3rd going forward. So remember, we're playing over the D chord in this part of the song. And so I visualize my D chord here using the A shape. There's also the D chord next to that, which is using the G shape. Now that's the top part of the G shape. I never do all 6 strings. It just doesn't make sense to do it. So I kind of break that into 2 parts. And so I can see my D chord and my D chord up here. But notice that both of those share this triad, this little D triad right here. And from this triad, I can do a lot of things. And one of my favorite things is to bar it with my index finger and go into this harmonized 3rd that to me is just an extension of this triad. And I'll put a micro lesson up. I did a little deep dive on this very thing. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely check that lesson out. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm playing strings 2 and 3 from the 7th fret here. And then I change my finger position. So now I've got my ring finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. My middle finger's on the 8th fret 2nd string. Then we slide that up 2 frets. And here's what's cool about this. Let me just make this other little connection point. So you've got this little triad, right? And then when I walk up to here, look at this. There's my D chord using the E shape. Strings 2 and 3. So this is just a little bridge to get you from the A shape, or the G shape rather, up to the E shape. Little harmony, a little harmonized way of doing it. So I played that, came back down, then back to where I started, and then I played that again, that same bit, but this is where the song goes to the E minor. Let's listen to that, and then we'll talk about what's going on there. So the song goes to the E minor, right? And I came back to this position, and that fits perfectly over the E minor because they're 2 of the notes from your E minor chord. So what I was thinking about was my E minor chord up here using the A minor shape. These 3 fingers are making the same shape as if you made your A minor down in first position. If you barred or capoed up here with on the 7th fret, you'd get that sound. Now, if we just looked at strings 1, 2, and 3 of that, we've got the little stair step, and I'm talking about this quite a bit because I use it in 6 chords and 9 chords, and it's just super useful. Anyway, it's 7th fret 1st string, 8th fret 2nd string, 9th fret 3rd string. So you can see then that's the bottom part of that triad, and then I just went ahead and played the whole triad. So I went like this, and then I went like this. My pinky came up, while I was holding that E minor chord, my pinky comes up to the 10th fret 1st string and hits that note. Now, that note, you could think of it as like an embellishment off of that E minor triad, but I think of that as going back to where we started, the pentatonic scales. Pattern 4 of my G major pentatonic scale is right there. So that's kind of like the edge of pattern 4. And so this is where, hopefully you're starting to see this and you realize, oh, you can just you can do the chord thing, but then you can go right back into your pentatonic. And so that's kind of what's happening here by hitting that note. Then the song goes back to a C. And what I did there, I was thinking about my C. I'm always asking myself, where's my nearest neighbor? So my nearest C is right here, using the E shape. So I went down 1 fret, and this is just another technique that I use quite a bit where that's the note I want to hit, which is my C note. But I go down a fret and go, and do a little half bend there. It just gives it this kind of pedal steel, dreamy kind of sound. And it's easy to do. Whatever note you want to play, you just go down a half step. And you can bend into it. And then the next note that I hit was the 8th fret 2nd string. And then after that, I went down here and went. So I was still thinking, in terms of mapping out the fretboard, I was thinking G major pentatonic scale. Even though we're playing over the C chord, I came down to this fret, this note, which would be the 10th fret 2nd string, and did a half bend, which would be up to this note. Now that gives it a little bit more of a bluesy sound, and it actually works really well over the chord that was happening there, which is a diminished chord. And if there's ever a diminished chord in a song and you're not sure what to play, you can always play your flat 7 of whatever that chord is. So if it's a C, you play that note. So I bent into it. The perfect thing to play there would have been the diminished 7 arpeggio. It would have been like. But, sometimes you don't need to do that. Sometimes you don't need to be so literal. To me, it's just hitting that is like hinting at it enough, So I'm bending into that flat 7. Then I come down to the 9th fret 3rd string. And then I went like this. The song goes back to the G chord. So we're just walking down. Those are notes from my G major scale. So we go 9th fret 3rd string, 10th fret 4th string, and then you go down to the 8th fret and slide into the 9th fret like that. Because what I'm setting myself up for here is my G chord right here, using the C shape. Now, I don't need to play it with using all 4 fingers like that. All I need is that little piece of it, that harmonized 6, strings 4 and 2. That's all I need of it. That tells me enough of that chord. So we have... Isn't that pretty? That just, even without playing the full chord, just playing that harmony, it really defines, even without the jam track, it defines where we are in space. And then I went like this. So from here, I slid up 1 fret on that 4th string up to the 10th fret, and then I barred here on the 7th fret and played string 3 and 2. And what is that? Well, that's a D7. It's just another voicing for it. So there's that triad we were just talking about, right? Here's another little thing you can do with the triad. You've got a 7 here, which is like your A7 shape, but you've also got this, which it doesn't get used enough, I feel like, at least not for me. When I discover it, which I kind of come back to it every now and then, I just love it. It sounds so pretty. Pinky goes down on the 10th fret, 2nd string, and then I come back to that G chord. Just the triad, strings 4, 3, and 2. All right, so I realize that's a lot of information for this part 1 video. I'm gonna wrap up part 1 right there, and I will see you in part 2, where we'll go over the rest of the solo. And remember, as a premium member, you can watch that part 2 video, but you can also download the tablature, the MP3 jam track, so that you can practice everything. You have the on-screen tab viewer, all of those extra things, which can really help you in practicing all of this stuff. All right, we'll see you in part 2.